Thank you very much. If you found me on the app, my name is Cheers Alexander Wheeler. I didn't understand the instructions. Um, Also, my favorite number is 27. So, all right. Thank you for that introduction. All right. So, starting off, just a little background on the large coral colonies that the Walker Lab found off of South Florida's coast. They were originally discovered in 2013. So some of these large colonies were dated over 300 years old and have acted as biological hotspots until 2014, when, as we know, SCTLD first began affecting Florida's coral reef. These colonies survived centuries of prior stress until SCTLD, which has killed an average of 42% of live tissue between 2015 and 2021. Now, that is a subset of some of our colonies. That's not all of them. If you want more details on that metric, my colleague, Ali Kuzichuk, has a poster tonight at the session, so definitely check that out. So for more information on this decline, visit our poster. So now this deterioration led the Walker Lab to start a project to restore that lost tissue and the presumable ecosystem function that went alongside that. Some of these images, again, are the degradation of some of our large colonies that we've monitored. Okay, so that initial effort in 2018, we attempted to restore the large colonies with the collection and rearing of gametes. And although histological samples were collected to determine spawning windows, no successful gametes were collected, or I should say, we were not successful in collecting gametes. Therefore, the lab has shifted to the collection of corals of opportunity to fulfill its reskinning goals. So in order to obtain these corals of opportunity, which I'm going to define here as corals that were naturally dislodged from the reef, we're not going and breaking off chunks, and henceforth I refer to them as coups. The Walker Lab has been permitted to collect and microfragment these coups during its regular monitoring operations of these large colonies. So since 2019, a total of 15 of these coups have been collected and over 800 fragments have been created for our goal of outplanting genetically distinct corals on our 15 large colonies of interest to promote successful fertilization. That's sort of our end goal here. We want to boost that fertilization of our outplants. And we want to outplant them on colonies deemed good outplant candidates. So here's a map of what I'm talking about here. Those little balls correspond to an outplant score up in the top right. And a good outplant score is determined by factors such as size, proximity to other diseased colonies, et cetera, et cetera. All right. And in 2021, the Walker Lab began investigating alternative methods for increasing that fertilization success, including the use of adult chimeras. So I know that's probably a little bit of a red flag for some of you. For those of you who don't know, coral chimerism is, well, chimerism in general, but in corals for this case, is when two or more genotypes exist in one individual. And it has been shown as an effective restoration method to help boost fertilization success, disease tolerance of certain outplants, and increased growth rates. Experiments of these fusions produce a range of outcomes from successful, I apologize, some of the, oh, here we go. Here's a sort of a flow chart showing the potential outcomes of these crosses. You can see there's a successful outcome, the fusion outcome. There's the incompatible fusion outcome where they do not merge, but they coexist with a sort of a boundary between them. And then there's the non-fusion outcome where they kill each other or one kills the other, which is obviously what we don't want. So yes, coral chimerism has been observed both in the wild and in the lab, but the latter has been restricted to fusions of newly settled recruits. So fusions in adult corals would occur after the development of the allogeneic recognition system, of which successful reports are exceedingly rare. All other adult fusions have resulted in the non-fusion outcome. So it begs the question, is coral chimerism possible beyond the development of this allorecognition system? To our knowledge, successful adult chimerism in corals remains extremely rare. Like I said, here's one example I was able to find, but not much else, not in this part of the world and not in Orbicella that we're studying. And as well as current research currently being done in labs like the Fogarty Lab are also reporting similar non-fusion results. Here's an example of that non-fusion result from our lab. You can see eventually the corals end up killing each other, radiating out from that contact zone. People have considered various methods to circumvent tissue rejection, such as sibling fusions or closely related fusions or immunosuppressant drugs. However, sibling fusions, the obvious red flag there is that you might inbreed these things. And previous talks during this conference have showed that that's not a good thing. As well as immunosuppressants, while understudied and should be researched further, you run the risk of, in human grafts, very often the recipient has to take these immunosuppressant drugs the entirety of their life, which obviously would not be feasible for a coral outplant. So there are limitations to that as well. So for us, is chimerism worth it in our adult corals? Previous research has shown chimerism and Orbicella faveolata to be most successful before that development of the allo recognition system. Sourcing from densely packed sites creates the risk of inbreeding in OFAV and should be, as some research has shown, sourced greater than 5 meters apart. And then lastly, caution should be used when implementing immunosuppressant drugs due to potential for long-term tissue rejection after you're no longer able to treat them. So in conclusion, based off the current information, we don't consider adult coral chimerism feasible in OFAV for us at this time, and instead encourage fusion to be explored within the chimeric window. Well, that's before the allogeneic recognition system develops. Going forward, future work is needed to flesh out this concept if it is to be used as a large-scale restoration technique. Therefore, the Walker Lab will not be incorporating this technique into our restoration plan going forward, and will instead look for other avenues to boost our fertilization success. So, with that, I would like to thank the Southeast Florida Coral Restoration Fund, the Walker Lab, the Renegar Lab, the Figueredo Lab, and I'll turn it over to any questions you might have.